remakes, torture porn, and found footage. Oh, Ghostface is back. Sorry, Sydney. You thought you got away the last time, huh? When I saw that kill, I was like, holy fuck. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know that. Alright, horror hounds, and welcome to another episode of This Just In. Today, I'm going to be reviewing Scream 4. Going to go through kind of piece by piece, and then afterwards at the end, I'm going to give out some kind of fun facts about Scream 4, so make sure you stick around till the end. But until further ado, let's just jump right in. Scream 4. Welcome back to Woodsboro. This Scream is going to be tackling remakes, torture porn, and found footage. All the main things going on in the horror world at this time. That's the fun part about Scream is they tackle this genre, how it's kind of been adapting, and the new things that are coming out in it, and that's what they always do. And it took them 11 years to make a new movie, but the whole world had changed in the horror landscape, so they decided they were going to do a little commentary on it. Movie kicks off with Stab 6, then Stab 7. And then we finally get to the actual movie, and boom, we get the Scream 4 title card. But before that, 5 people die, showing that this was going to be one of the most brutal and the highest kill counts in Scream up to this point. Right after this, we do get to meet the main cast. You have Jill, which is Sydney's cousin, her friend Olivia, Kirby, who's kind of the hot girl, but also the nerdy girl, knows a ton about horror movies. And you got Charlie and Robbie. They're kind of both the film students. Charlie's got kind of a thing for Kirby, and Robbie's the one who's filming everything happening in his life. And he says this is how things are going to be going forward. Boy, was he forward thinking. Then we get to see Gail and Dewey. Yes, they are still together after the third one when they proposed. Ironically enough, they also are talking about Sydney because she's written a book. And she's off doing a tour, and her tour has her last stop at Woodsboro, where everything started all those years ago. She has her publicist with her, Rebecca, and Rebecca is kind of pushing everything going forward. There's a lot of all the Ghostface around the town and stuff, and then when she's at the signing, they do find a big bloody mess in her trunk, which kind of kicks off the whole Ghostface is back. Sorry, Sydney. You thought you got away the last time, huh? After this, we do get an awesome scene. It is Kirby and Jill in a bedroom, and they're talking on the phone with Ghostface, and he's kind of having fun with them. And the big question is, she's kind of getting asked a big question, and he sees that she's watching Shaun of the Dead, and he tells her he can see that because he's from the closet. And when she opens the door, he's not there. But he says, I never said it was your closet. And he comes out and he attacks Olivia, stabbing the shit out of her. And we see this big stab scene, get stabbed through the hand and everything else. And then Sydney, who's staying with her cousin, she runs across to go help. And when they get in the room, when I saw that kill, I was like, holy fuck. Hard to believe, but Scream decided to go with some torture porn here. There's blood all over the walls, literally everywhere. More blood than probably you would think a human body has. And we see Olivia on the bed with her guts and everything spilled out. And it was like, damn, we haven't seen a kill like that since Casey Becker. But after that, we do get to see that the cops are now going to be hanging around and always going to be around Sydney to protect her. And at the next time we see Sydney, her publicist is talking about how amazing this is and how great it is. That this is happening because it's going to really up the sales, and Sydney gets pissed off and fires her. So Rebecca's walking around in the parking garage, and Ghostface comes up and stabs her in the stomach, and then just for a little extra measure, throws it off the top of the building, and she lands on the roof of a news van while Dewey's trying to tell everybody that everything is A-OK in Woodsboro. Guess that plan got shot the shit right out. After this, we do go to a Stabathon, which is Charlie and Robbie's annual thing they do where they play all 7 Stab movies in a row. They're in a barn, a bunch of teens partying, drinking, having a good time. And Gale Weathers decides she's going to go there because she needs to figure out what's going on. So she does old Gale Weathers from the original Scream. Remember, they are making fun of remakes on here. And she sets up a camera, about 4 or 5 of them. And when she finally gets back to her truck to see what the cameras are showing, she notices a lot of them are tipped over. So she goes back to figure out what's going on. And as she's going to catch on one of them to flip it back up, she sees another camera that she didn't place. And Ghostface comes up behind her, attacks her, does end up stabbing her in the shoulder, which ends up being important in the end. She does get away, but she has to go to the hospital. So she's not gonna die at this point, but she is injured. So finally Dewey's the one who doesn't get stabbed. It's actually Gale. Nice little change. Going off from what the remake is, you know, copying the original but switching it up a bit. So then we get to see Sidney, and she's back at the house where Jill is, but Jill's not there as she finds out. And we see the 2 cops outside, and we get a famous scene where one of them says, "I'll be right back," and then he references it and goes, "Oh shit, I'm not supposed to fucking say that." And as he comes back, he gets stabbed directly in the back, and as he falls down, Ghostface stabs the other policeman right in the forehead. And he pulls the knife out, and the blood's pouring out of his forehead. Falls to the ground and dies. This is a nice Ghostface chase scene with Sidney going after her. Her aunt's there. Her aunt and her are pushing the door to try to keep Ghostface out of the house. And Ghostface ends up killing the aunt by stabbing her in the back of the neck through the mail hole. Yep. So if you wonder why people don't have mail slots in their doors anymore, that's because of Scream 4. They really fucked over the mailman. After that, Sidney takes off in a car to leave to go find Jill, and somehow she knows to go to Kirby's house. And at Kirby's house, all the teens have all kind of gathered. They're having a party and a good time. Kind of similar to like in the first movie, how they all partied and had a good time. And in this scene, you do get Kirby flirting with Charlie, and it looks like something may happen. But Jill's boyfriend kind of interrupts that. He's there and nobody knows the fuck why. Robbie is outside, drunk off his ass, filming things, but not realizing that his camera's facing behind him and not in front of him. And when he looks at his phone and realizes it, Ghostface comes up behind him and kills him. Stabbing him a bunch of times, and then he goes, "Wait, you can't kill me. I'm gay." Because earlier in the movie it was stated that in a remake you can't die if you're gay. Well, Ghostface said fuck that and killed him anyways. So that kind of changed things a little bit for this movie, saying we're going to subvert your expectations. You said earlier in the film this guy could survive if he was gay. He claims he's gay. He's dead. It's too late. Doesn't matter. So then the Ghostface comes in, he's chasing after everybody. Sidney sends Jill upstairs to hide under her bed. She goes out on the roof. Ghostface chases her. She falls down off the roof, just like in the original. She then goes in the basement, and we see her and Kirby hiding in there. And then Charlie shows up to the door covered in blood, and he wants to be let in. Kirby's not sure if she should. And the lights go out. And when they come back on, Charlie is tied up in a chair, just like Steve from the first one. And Ghostface is on the phone with Kirby and going to tell her to answer some questions. Then as she's answering some questions, she gets them right, and then she goes on this big fucking tear where she's naming off every fucking remake that's happened in recent time. Every single one. And she assumes that she won because Ghostface shuts up, and she goes out to save Charlie, and Charlie stabs her directly in the stomach. So it's revealed that Charlie's the killer, and he's going after Sidney, and when Sidney runs in the house, she gets stabbed in the stomach by another Ghostface. Take off the mask, and it is Jill, her cousin. And here's where we get the big reveal that Jill will do anything for attention. She wants to get all the love that Sidney got. She wants to be the sole survivor. Her and Charlie have been planning this whole entire thing. And she stabs Sidney again in the stomach and twists the knife this time, and Sidney falls to the ground. And when they're going to do their old Billy Loomis, Stu Macher impression and stab each other a bunch of times, when Jill gets ready to stab him in the shoulder, she stabs Charlie directly in the heart to kill him. Because guess what? Because being the sole survivor is where it's at. And that's what she's here for. She needs that clout. So after this, she ends up stabbing herself in the shoulder. She ends up running herself into a mirror. She throws herself through a glass table, rips out her own hair, scratches her face. She does everything to make it look like she got the shit beat out of her. But she survived. And she lays herself perfectly next to Sidney, holding Sidney's hands. So when the cops show up and Dewey gets there, they take her away, and she's the hero. The cameras are flashing. How does it feel to be a survivor? Blah, 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 blah. We go to the hospital. So this third act that we thought had just ended now continues because Dewey tells her that Sidney's still alive. And she's talking about how she'd like to write a book with Gale because they have matching wounds. So when he leaves to go see Gale, she goes in to go see Sidney to go kill Sidney. Like, why won't you just fucking die already? And they have kind of a back and forth. In the meantime, Dewey's talking to Gale, and Gale's like, how did she know I got stabbed in the shoulder? And that's when Dewey puts two and two together and says, oh, fuck. And he runs back. And he gets hit in the head and the shit beat out of him with a bedpan. And in this whole scene, they go back and forth. Gale ends up coming in. The second sheriff, she comes in and she gets shot in the chest a bunch of times. Eventually, when she's going to shoot Gale, Gale says, I just got one thing to say to you, and that's clear. Sidney grabs the old defibrillator and shocks her to the fucking head and kills her. And then we obviously get the killer coming back and a bullet to the brain. Turns out that the other sheriff, Judy, she survives. Sidney survives. Gale survives. Dewey survives. And that's kind of how the movie ends. Alright, some overall thoughts. All the acting in this movie was good. It was a great movie. I was very pleased with this as being a sequel to a Scream film. Everything about it. The only thing that's kind of poor in it is the camera making. I don't know how to put it, but it's like the filming that they use. The cameras, all the lighting isn't natural. It's kind of like bright. And it's kind of off-putting for a Scream movie. It almost makes things kind of melt into each other in the background. Versus what's usually dark and dingy, like in the torture porn. It did what a lot of remakes do. It did kind of copy some of the template of the original, but then change up a few things to subvert your expectations, which is exactly what remakes were doing. So it did that is, to kind of make a play on it and joke. It had one kill in it to kind of hit the torture porn thing, and that was the first kill with Olivia. And for the found footage shit, there was just the guy who was kind of filming his whole entire life. And there was some shots and stuff like that, and the fact that the killers did film every kill that they were going to upload for the attention. Kind of a take on found footage, but kind of not. Overall, this movie was good. I would give it probably a 4.25 out of 5. Now, for the fun facts that I found out about this movie. One, this was Emma Roberts' first horror film. So we all know Emma Roberts. She's been in a lot of horror movies, kind of started to become like a scream queen, kind of. But this was the one that got her mark. Another fun fact is that this was Wes Craven's last film he ever made before he passed away. Not that fun of a fact, but it is neat. I do consider it a high note compared to some of the other stuff he was putting out prior to this. So it was kind of like he left off on a very good note. Also in this movie, he did not like prop knives anymore, so he decided to go for the CGI knives. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't know that. Not sure if you could tell, but yes, he didn't want the collapsing ones that just looked too fake, he said. And the last thing that I have as a fun fact on this movie is that whole scene where Jill beats the shit out of herself, and she throws herself through the window, or through the glass mirror, and then she throws herself through the glass table. That is all an homage to Fight Night. Alright, if you stuck around this long to the video, I thank you. If you would, give me a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to put up here in the link here to the rest of my Scream review series. Until the next one, guys, rest in peace.